Last week, Mazda gave us a big surprise. Not only did they give us pricing and packaging for the 2025 CX-50 midsize crossover, or some would call it a compact, whatever. The big surprise there was that the hybrid finally got announced using Toyota's 2.5-liter hybrid system. Now we have pricing and packaging of the CX-5, the best-selling crossover from Mazda, this one being built in Japan, where the CX-50 is built down in Alabama. We'll talk about pricing and packaging, and Mazda's addressing the big issue for a lot of customers right now, which is the high price of vehicles accompanied with high interest rates. But we'll also on the back end of this video talk about where Mazda is going with the CX-5. What can we look forward to from the best-selling crossover from this Japanese brand? All right, what are the updates for the 2025 CX-5? Well, any updates welcome because it's really long in the tooth. I want to say this came out in around 2016, the CX-5. Anyways, wider offerings for CX-5 customers with the return of this standard 2.5S model. So they came out with the base model. Let's go ahead and look at what that pricing is for that 2.5S. It's at $28,570. Currently for 2024 models, they start at $29,300. And now neither of those prices are including destination, which is going to be $1,420. Regardless of whether the vehicles from Mazda are built in Mexico, Alabama, or Japan, it's all $1,420. Or even if it's as small as something like an MX-5, $1,420 is the destination fee that they charge you for shipping as well. So we have about a $730 discount for the entry model now compared to last year. And so Mazda's doing a good job adapting to the current market, not being able to shell out as much for these high-end, maybe turbo grades. The turbo is great on the CX-5, by the way, but just like all non-turbo Mazdas, I also recommend those. And in fact, sometimes I recommend them over the turbo because you have a pretty snappy 6-speed automatic. It gives you a great feel. And for the price and for the performance against its competitors, the 2.5-liter base engine with around 190 horsepower or so, more than adequate in my opinion. And I would take it over any competitor that has a CVT mated to a turbo or a non-turbo engine. Now, we're not talking about hybrids and eCVTs. I would probably pick that, or at least consider as an option against Mazda's base engine here. Now, they've also added standard dual front USB-C ports. They also did that to the MX-5, and I was very happy about that. Also, in the driveway, showed up yesterday for this week's review, is the Mazda 3 hatchback turbo. So stay tuned for my impressions on that. Those are always a lot of fun to drive. The 25 models will be arriving later this summer, so they're probably building them now, and then they'll ship them over the Pacific Ocean to the United States. Let's talk about the CX-5 base model, the 2.5S, that has been reintroduced into the lineup in these days of a high inflation and low affordability. 187 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque, and it doesn't matter whether you put 93 or 87, so just put 87 in there because you're not going to get any more performance. Also, it has available cylinder deactivation and I-stop technology, which I don't remember being on the previous model years, but I'm sure some of you will correct me if I'm wrong on that. And if I remember right, the CX-50 last week had a standard 10.25 inch screen as well that can be controlled with the multi-function commander knob. I just call that the rotary dial. I didn't realize they actually called it multi-function commander knob, and is integrated with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that feature touchscreen functionality. The rotary dial is not designed around Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but you can enable touchscreen when you have your phone mirrored onto that screen, so you can actually use your hands to interact with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So it's a big improvement. There's only 4 speakers found in this base model. That is, I wonder how bad that sounds or how decent. It's hard to say. It gets HD radio, but let's see here. It doesn't look like it's going to have satellite radio. You're going to have cloth seating, push button start, leather wrapped shifter and steering wheel. Bravo. Bravo. That is something the manufacturers love to add on as an option. Typically, you see it maybe with the heated steering wheel option, but leather wrapped shifter and steering wheel is standard. I want my hands to be happy, especially in a crossover that's fun to drive like the CX-5. Of course, we have Bluetooth, cruise control, dual USB-Cs, reclining rear seats. I mean, for so many people, this base model is going to be a good buy. That powertrain being such a strong piece in Mazda styling. So you have 17-inch wheels here. Automatic lights, of course, with high beam control, rear roof spoiler, roof-mounted shark fin antenna, automatic rain-sensing windshield wipers. That's typically a feature you see in high, like the top trim levels of most mainstream cars. And you see that as oftentimes a standard feature in luxury cars. So automatic rain sensing wipers, I mean, some people make a big stink about that, whether if they need them or not, just depends on the person, but that's typically a luxury feature, and we're getting it here on the base CX-5. This is also good because CX-5 also has the iActive Sense safety and driver assistance features standard, including 8 airbags. Blind spot monitoring is standard. Thank you, Mazda. Advanced Smart City Parking Brake, Pedestrian Detection, Lane Keep Assist, Mazda Radar Cruise Control. So you have Radar Cruise Control. If you look at the Germans, they make you pay for that sort of thing. So Stop and Go would be more of like Traffic Jam Assist, but you're still going to have to use your steering wheel. It's not going to, steer the car for you like Toyota's Traffic Jam Assist does. Rear cross traffic alert, rear seat alert, smart brake support. I mean, what other safety features do you need? I mean, that's going to be a huge recommendation against all these more fancy. You guys know. Here's the thing, side note, I've been speaking with Toyota. I asked them, hey, how can I get into a Camry LE because the base Camry is just such a good buy. And now I'm seeing this base CX-5. Now that it's reintroduced, it's such a good buy. I'm like, Toyota, how can I get into the base model? And they're like, hey, we're going to hook you up with one at a nearby dealership at Germain. So stay tuned for that because I will be driving. I don't know when, and I don't know how long I'll have it. Probably for a day or two would be my guess. But I really want to test out the Camry LE to see how good of a buy it is on the market. I mean, for the money, it's hard to beat. All right. But here's all the pricing anyways for the CX-5 from base model to the turbo signature. The CX-5 is a great buy despite how much you pay for any trim level. But now that we have this base trim level, that's great. I mean, I'm all for that. Some other things for 2025, the Carbon Edition. It gets wireless phone charging and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You'd be wired on the base grades. For the CX-5 2.5 Premium Plus, you have a 360 view camera along with front and rear parking sensors for easier parking. And that's really the main updates and conclusion I have here on the 2025 CX-5. It's cheaper. That's a good thing. Let's talk about the future of the CX-5. It has to be redesigned in the next 2 years. I don't think we're going to get a redesign for 2026 model year. I think it's going to be for 2027 model year. I hope I'm wrong, but let's read what's going on right now. The CX-5, this is over at carsensor.net. It is a Japanese-based website. They're asking, will the new CX-5 be released in 2025 as a hybrid? And will the next generation adopt Mazda's unique hybrid mechanism? So this is where the CX-5 will differentiate itself from the CX-50. The CX-50 is in the same segment. It seems longer. I don't know if it is, but it's a shorter roofline. It's more of a lifted wagon experience. And now it has Toyota's hybrid built in Alabama. This will still be built in Japan. This will have Mazda's own hybrid technology. Now, it could be jointly developed with Toyota. That's a possibility, but I highly doubt it. I think they're going to come out with their own hybrid system here with their own transmission. And maybe they make their hybrids a little bit more fun to drive in theory than Toyotas, which focus on just being well-rounded, smooth, efficient, and responsive. Say Subaru, though, even though Subaru's going to be using Boxer engines, they, of course, are going to be pretty much using Toyota's hybrid system with the Boxer engine, but co-developing it with Toyota, to my understanding. But we still don't have details on Subaru's flavor of this Toyota hybrid system. And I have my own theories, but that's for a different video. But when Mazda and Subaru and Toyota got on the stage at their most recent engine workshop, Mazda showed off rotary engine hybrids. Would we see a rotary engine hybrid here in the CX-5? Anything's possible. I highly doubt it. I think they would probably take a 2-liter, 2.5-liter, hybridize that. It can't now. Mazda can't use that inline six large architecture rear wheel drive bias here in the CX-5. That doesn't stop them from using a plug-in hybrid with the same engine, but the orientation is going to be horizontal instead of longitudinal. That means most of the power will be driven to the front wheels instead of the rear wheels like we have on the CX-70 and the CX-90. The thing is, Mazda has to develop an all-new transmission for this hybrid. They can't use this 6-speed auto that was co-developed with Ford way back in the day. That's kind of a relic, but it's a good transmission. It's just kind of heavy. They need to have something a little bit more efficient, in my opinion. Maybe with more gears. They could do a hybrid with real physical gears. Look, Hyundai does that. Or they could use an ECVT, which is the cheaper option here, but it doesn't necessarily agree with Mazda's ethos of being fun to drive cars. This CX-5, 100%, the new one will be coming on the next couple of years as a hybrid, only developed in-house from Mazda. We should have a pretty good idea in terms of the styling Mazda is going for. In China, earlier this year, they revealed 2 new models. Now, this one for sure is a Chinese exclusive. Now, they could export it to Japan if they wanted to. From China, it's a fully EV or plug-in hybrid, the Mazda EZ6. But there's also this crossover, which is fully electric, and it doesn't mean the CX-5 is going to be fully electric. They could have a fully electric version if they wanted to, but this Arata concept is stunning. And it has this big front air dam like the Mazda 3 turbo I have out front. But this is the sort of styling we can expect from Mazda going forward, maybe starting with the CX-5. Now, they still have this iconic Mazda grille, but as an EV, you don't need to have as much airflow, right? Most of it's coming in down here. But they could easily transform this piece right here with the logo on it into a more functional grille for the CX-5. The size of this is totally CX-5. And the side profile of it reminds me of the CX-5 and a little bit of the CX-30, right? Mazda's Kodo design DNA kind of goes through all of their vehicles. But I think it's very attractive. No one's going to need, 22 or 24-inch wheels that we have here. And from the back, it looks like a Jaguar. Look at that. How about that? I think it looks great. Now, news just came out this past week that Jaguar is essentially killing off the majority of its models. I think the only one SUV is surviving, but anyways, that's unrelated to this. But I love this D-pillar area. Is it going to cause for maybe some large blind spots? Maybe, but if they can come out with a production version of this with a gasoline engine, with a hybrid, and call it the CX-5, and also have a fully electric variant of it too for certain markets. The CX-5 is Mazda's best-selling vehicle. They can't afford to not have something really competitive in this segment. Now, you could say, Kirk, they just made the 25 more competitive by making it more affordable. Yes, but for the next generation, they need to have something exciting. And I have high expectations for Mazda. Their vehicles hardly ever let me down. They're very, very impressed. I guess the CX-70 let me down. I haven't driven it yet, because they just took out the third row of the CX-90. But the rest of their vehicles have great design, great materials, excellent build quality, great reliability, and they're just the full package, and they're very price competitive too. And so they offer luxury-ish materials and experience for mainstream prices. So Mazda is absolutely crushing it. Even though the sales on the CX-5 are down this year, about 13%, they're down. The CX-5 or the CX-50 is up about 60%. So they're seemingly reducing a little bit of production volume on the CX-5 because they're able to increase the production of the CX-50 here in America. And now that the CX-50 hybrid's out and the CX-5 hybrid, it won't be out for a few more years, the CX-50 will keep growing. But I want to see what you guys have to say down below for the next generation CX-5. What kind of powertrain do you want? Do you want what we have right now? Same old, same old. There's nothing wrong with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I want to see that carried over, but I also want to see some fun to drive hybrids from them. I think they can pull it off. Now, the 2.5 turbo might get discontinued. It might just be too big for global markets. So they might be working on a 2-liter turbo or 1.5-liter turbo to replace the 2.5, which would be kind of sad. I love the 2.5. It's very sturdy, tons of torque. It's like an old V8 is what it feels like when you drive it. Doesn't sound like one, but yeah, anyways, I got to shut down. Thank you guys for watching. Smash the like button for Mazda and the CX-5. One of the most fun to drive and still one of the best looking crossovers on the market. And one of the few that you can still get in America that is made in Japan. But I got to shut it down. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned. Make sure you stay tuned for more Mazda updates. Hopefully we get something spicy by the end of the year. And stay tuned for my Mazda 3 review. Thank you guys. Peace.